Okay, you guys, let's talk about some trucks today. I got to tell you something. This is very few times in my career, most of you guys know I've been in the car business since I was a little kid. Very few times have I had the opportunity to sell something, and it was absolutely the best of whatever it was. You know, I was back in the days I sold Pontiac 1000s. You guys remember that? Most of you guys do. Most of you guys aren't old enough. Do you remember Pontiac 1000, T1000? The Chevette? Yeah, nice cars. Nice. Nice. I sold those things, you know. But this is something different. This is an amazing opportunity for all of us. Because really and truly, for the first time that I can remember in a long time, you can walk up to your customers and you can look them straight in the eye and you can say, this is the best vehicle made. This is the best truck on the planet, made by humans ever in the history of mankind. That's the best truck made right there. And you can look at them with a clear conscience. You can say it straight to their face, because that's exactly what this is. There's three things that we want to tell your customers this year. Number one, we sell our trucks for less. If you guys compare sticker to sticker, the only hope our competition has is to throw more money at incentives, because it's the only thing that they can do. But sticker to sticker, trim level for trim level, we sell our vehicles for less. That's number one. Number two, and I'm sure a lot of you already know this, we give our customers more money for their vehicle in trade. Now that sounds like a salesman's story, doesn't it? That doesn't sound like it's real. But you can prove it to your customers. You guys know that we actually had the banks all came out with their residual values. We're even advertising it on television right now. You guys know our residual values, that we're 3 points better than Ford and General Motors right now. 3 points is not just a little, that's a lot. So you can look at your customers and say, the banks went out there and they looked into the future and they said, look at how they're building the Ram, look at how they're building the Chevy, look at how they're building the Ford, look at what they are, how much are they going to be worth 2, 3, 4, and 5 years down the road for a lease. They're looking that far down the road and they're saying, you know what? The Ram's going to be worth a lot more money because of what we know today. The Ram's going to be worth more money. What does that mean for your customers? That means not only are they going to pay less money up front for their trucks, but they're going to get more money in trade, and you can look them in the eye and tell them that with utmost confidence. They're going to get more money for their trade in the future than if they bought the competition. The third thing you want to tell your customers is that between paying less and getting more, we spent $1 billion on turning our trucks into something different. You guys compare this truck to the 2012 model, you guys are going to see that we spent $1 billion, and some of it is really obvious and some of it is a little more subtle, and it's going to take a good salesperson with a good mind who's quick on their feet to make a decision on when to introduce those things to the customers, because there's a lot of subtleties in this truck that are going to make it so much better than the competition. But only when the customer buys it and they spend time driving it around are they going to notice these things, or are they going to benefit from them. So that $1 billion, what did it do? It reduced the cost of ownership on the truck. It's going to cost less for the customer to drive it from the time they pay less to the time they get more in trade. It's going to cost them less. And the second thing that it did is it actually helped the customers have a much better ride and drive experience. You guys know some of the things that we did on the 1500, some of the great interior things that we've done. We're going to talk about that. But let's first talk about powertrains. You guys know what powertrains we offer this year. Let's talk specifically about the 2500 right now. What powertrains are available in this truck? What engine can I get in? 5.7. I get the 5.7. Can I also get the 5.7 in the 3500? Yeah. Absolutely. This year the answer is yes. You guys know the customer that's looking for that is trying to avoid paying the extra money for the Cummins. And they also want to have the payload capacity of the 3500, but it's not going to be the guy that's wanting to do the big tow job. You guys know that. So that's why you have that 5.7. You guys know that the 5.7 has a different horsepower and torque rating on the 2500 and the 3500 than it does on the 15. Does anybody here know what the horsepower and torque is on the 1500 on 5.7 on the Hemi? No guesses?
383 on the Ford.
383 is correct on this. On the 1500, it's 395. It's 395, up from last year because we got rid of the power steering pump on the 1500. Not on this, on the 1500. You guys also know that torque rating. What's a torque rating on the Hemi and the 1500? 407, but also they're telling us it's 410 now. So they've come out with a new number. I don't know what they did, but they're saying it's 410. But it's 383 and 400 on the heavy duties. 383 and 400 on the 5.7. This is not the 5.7. This is the Cummins. Does anybody know what the ratings on the Cummins are in the heavy duty? It's 370 horsepower this year, which is up from last year. 370, and the torque rating is 800 pound-feet of torque. Okay, and that's with the automatic transmission. Can I get another transmission with this? You guys, how many of the handshakers do you guys sell? The 6-speed standards? This area is not big for that. That's not big. If you do get it, I'm just giving you the numbers just so you got them in the back of your mind. It's 660 pound-feet of torque and 350 horsepower. And the reason they can't put 800 pound-feet of torque on that is because you can imagine what that would do to your clutch. Yes, sir.
How are they getting their torque? What are they doing to get this 600 and 800 per pound?
Well, diesels, first of all, have more torque because of the high compression, because of the way that it produces power. Because you have this high compression. Do you guys understand how diesels work differently than gas engines? Gas engines have spark plugs. On the compression stroke, they squish all the fuel and air to the top, and the spark plugs fire. It ignites the fuel, and then you have the power stroke, and it drives down, and then it turns like that. You guys understand how that works? On diesels, it's not that way. You guys understand that it's just a tremendous amount of pressure, that you're taking a much larger volume of air, and you're squishing it and making it so hot that it just ignites on its own. That's why on a very hot day, they call it dieseling when a gasoline engine keeps running after you turn the key off. They call it dieseling because what's happening is it's igniting on its own. And so a diesel engine works because now you got super high compression, and that super high compression, when it explodes, when that fuel-air mixture explodes, it gives you so much twist power. It twists really hard. It gives you more power and creates more torque. That's how that works. So that's why you get such huge numbers out of a diesel. And we'll talk about diesels here in a minute, especially when we get near the end. We'll talk about some product things that are coming. Okay, so that's the normal. That's on a 2500. Believe it or not, on the 3500, we have one more engine and transmission combination. Does anybody know what that is?
Natural gas.
Well, we have natural gas, and I'm kind of leaving that to the side because I got a few of those in New Mexico, and I'm not getting anybody interested in selling those things. We can't sell them for beans, so if you guys want one, I'm sure we can find one for you. We've got also, you guys know that we have the high output Cummins. The high output Cummins. It's only available on the 3500. The high output Cummins produces top in the country. It produces 850 pound-feet of torque, and it's 385 horsepower. So 850 is the most. You guys, this thing is so strong that if you could get the traction, you could hook a chain up to it. You could take that whole building down. That's how much this is. You guys know that on our towing statistics. You guys know that we had an announcement a couple of months ago about our new towing statistics. And Ford and Chevrolet both came to the party. They came to our announcement. And the week before, they had just jacked up their towing numbers. You guys, last year, I don't know if anybody remembers this, but the max tow that you could get out of a 3500 dually was $22,750. So Ford and Chevrolet came to the party and they had just jacked up their numbers to 23,100. And they came and they tried to embarrass us at our press conference. And when our Ram guy stood up in front of the cameras and they asked him, okay, how much is this thing gonna tow? He said, 30,000 pounds. Let me explain this to you in terms that make some sense. You guys, you can take the very biggest payload that the Ford and the Chevrolet can carry to where they're straining, they're at the absolute limit of their ability to tow. You can take that trailer, unhook their truck, hook our truck up to it, take their truck and put it on top of the load, and we can tow that. That's how much more towing we have. You guys, they've been doing this with us for years. 100 pounds here and 100 pounds there and 100 pounds. Now we got it by 30,000 pounds, you guys. It is so much that your customer may have to have a CDL to drive the vehicle with certain payloads on it. So that's on the 3,500. The max tow on this truck is 18,350. 18,350 on a 2,500. Let me tell you what that means. That means against single rear wheel vehicles. But this out tows last year's vehicle, even though it has a 342 rear end. The 342 rear end, by the way, is a high rear end. If you guys want to know about how rear end works, how that gear ratio works, I'll tell you. The higher the number, the lower the gear ratio. The lower the number, the higher the gear ratio. So a number that's a low number like 342 versus 410, it's a low number, it's a high gear ratio, so it gives you great fuel economy, but it doesn't help you tow. Well, in spite of that, 342 is the only thing that is available on the Cummins diesel on this truck. If you've got a customer and they come in and say, hey, wait. Last year I had a 373, or I had a 410. You guys, I got a video of one of our 2500s from 2013 2500s dragging a 12,000 pound trailer in a drag race against last year's with a 373. In a quarter mile, the new truck with the good gas mileage rear end beat last year's with the towing rear end by the length of the truck and the trailer in just a quarter of a mile. That much better. And here's the really cool part. You guys, this truck out-tows this year's F350 and Chevrolet and GMC truck 3,500. So our 2,500, our 3/4 ton, out-tows the other guys 1 tons. Now, of course, we're talking single rear wheel, right? Because this is only 18,350. So we have supremacy right now. Our our gross combined weight rating this year, that means the truck and the trailer, is 37,600 pounds. That's as compared to second place Ford at 30,000. So 7,600 pounds more, we're kicking their butts. So how in the world are we doing this, you guys? Let's talk about some specifics. When you come out here and you pop the hood, there's some stuff you want to show your customers. Come up here, let's take a look. You guys, this is Ram Active Air. Ram Active Air. If you look on last year's truck, do you guys have any of last year's trucks left? Any of the 2012 heavy duties? We got a couple left. There's some huge differences. This is one thing you're going to notice right away. This is Ram Active Air. Ram Active Air. So what does Ram Active Air do? If you guys take a look here, you can probably see it, but you want to come up here and you can look at this scoop right here. Take a look at this air scoop in the front right behind the grill. There's an air scoop there. There's actually 2 air scoops. The old-fashioned one that goes back behind the wheel well is the same as last year. But then you got this one in the front, and this does enormous things for us. Because what can happen is if you live in Flagstaff or you live in Phoenix, this truck was designed for Arizona. Because if you go up in high altitude, what happens to the amount of oxygen you have to breathe? It's thinner, the air's thinner, you don't have as much oxygen. That's bad. You want a lot of oxygen to burn your fuel properly to get better fuel economy and to get better throttle response. So what we did this year is we spent extra money. We put a Ram Active Air in, and the computer is always looking for the best air it can to combine it so we get the most oxygen to combine with the fuel to get you better fuel economy and throttle response. Let me tell you how this works. Has anybody ever done any towing? Has anybody here ever done any towing? if you guys have customers that have done towing, you know something that happens in the summertime here in Phoenix. If you're going down the road and you put your foot in it and you want to accelerate and you're dragging a trailer, what happens? Nothing happens. That's exactly right. It bogs down because the throttle response is not there. We cannot get enough air to ignite that fuel, to get that power. So you guys, we're not using our fuel properly. The vehicle's pumping in more fuel and it's going out the tailpipe doing nothing. So what Ram Active Air does is it's looking for the best air. It's always searching for the best air. And there's a door in there that decides whether or not it's going to take the air underneath the hood, which is the normal, and it's the default. Or if it's on a hot day where there's less oxygen. You guys know in thermodynamics, if you expand the gas, there's less of it in each volume. There's less oxygen. It's hot, so that's what happens. So what's going to happen is the scoop's going to take it. Now, what happens if you're stuck in a monsoon rainstorm? Or the guy's going to go out and maybe go through a river or a stream or something if he's out four-wheeling. It automatically shuts down the front and starts taking the air from behind the wheel well so that it can get it's not going to take the water into the air box. Okay, this is important. Now, this is one of those things that you can see because as soon as you guys open up the hood, it'll be very obvious that's there because you can read it. Now there's another thing that's here that is it's more subtle. And you have to know this or otherwise you will not talk to your customers about it because it doesn't show up on the window sticker and it doesn't show up, I don't believe it shows up on the Chrysler Academy stuff, but this vehicle has a charge air system, Does anyone know what that is? Charger, does anybody know what an intercooler is? What is an intercooler?
It cools off the air before it goes into the intake this way when it lets it charge.
Absolutely. Now what happens to the temperature of the air if I run it through a turbocharger and I squish it down into a tight space? It goes through the turbo. Now I got a lot of air smashed down in there. What happens to the temperature of that gas? It goes up, right? It gets really hot. Now, we've got the charge air system, and what it does is it takes that hot compressed air and it takes 25% of the heat out of it so that it drops down in there. Now we have cool compressed air. That's much better. You'll get more oxygen in there to burn the fuel more efficiently and get better throttle response. You guys, seriously, I'm driving across New Mexico on a hot day and I put my foot in it to pass somebody. I swear it goes from like 55 to 90 in about 2 seconds. It's amazing. You got throttle response. The thing feels like a Challenger. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it'll snap your neck. This is very different. And by the way, you guys, I drove last year's 3500, and so I have a lot to compare to. I spent thousands of miles. I drove thousands of miles in last year's 3500. Huge difference. You want to talk to your customers about this. So now, a couple of things that we've done to save our customers money. Let's talk about that. Number one, you guys know this. We wrap our customers' batteries in a blanket. Why do we do that? What's that?
Protects it from the heat.
Yeah, it protects it from the heat so the batteries last longer. That's number one. That's pretty obvious. Talk to your customers about that. Number two, we get better fuel economy. You guys know that this is rated at getting 10% better than last year. I will tell you what I'm getting. I'm getting 18 miles to the gallon, 18 in the city, and I got 19.1 on the highway driving this truck. About 5 miles an hour over and driving in mountainous terrain. I got 19.1. That's reality. You guys, this is way better than I was getting in last year's truck. The 3500 I was driving last, I was getting 13 and a half. 13 and a half. Now I've got this truck and I'm getting 18 to 19 miles a gallon. It's a serious increase. The brand is standing behind a 10% increase. I'm telling you, it's much more like 20. That's reality. That's what's really happening. So I'm saving my customers on batteries. I'm saving them on fuel because I've got the 342 rear end, and yet I don't give anything away in towing. The next thing that I'm doing is I'm saving them on oil changes. Does anybody know what the oil change interval is on this truck?
13,000.
What's that?
15,000.
Close. 15,000 miles. 15,000 miles. What does 15,000 miles mean to your customer? It means in the first 100,000 miles of driving, through the warranty period on the powertrain, in the first 100,000 miles of driving, This vehicle will have emissions back in 2010, and no one else did. We passed it with just the emissions that we had, and now as of Christmas last year, we didn't pass the 2013, so we put DEF on. But our DEF is superior to everybody else's, and I'll tell you why. Anyway, I'm saving my customers money on oil changes. I'm saving them on fuel. I'm saving them on batteries. Let's talk about something else we're saving our customers on. Let's go over here. Every time you come to the front wheel of your truck, there's several things that you want to discuss with your customers. Number one, you want to talk to them about the fact that we have the best turning radius. You guys know this, anywhere between 1 and 5.5 feet, depending on the truck, we have a better turning radius than the competition. That's a big deal, especially if you live in a big city, or even if you're out on the farm or the ranch, because to be able to make a much tighter turn, to be able to turn, especially if you're towing, it gives you much better ability to maneuver the trailer. But if you're not, just getting into the parking lot down at Walmart, you can get in, and this helps out a lot. The second thing that you want to talk to your customers about is you want to talk to them about the brakes. The brakes, you guys know we have the largest brakes, we have the largest discs. What does that mean to your customer? A larger disc dissipates heat better. You guys know that what happens in a braking system is you convert forward energy, the kinetic energy of moving forward, you convert that into heat. That's what it does. It converts it to heat, and of course heat eventually destroys brakes. You guys know what we've done on this vehicle, that our brakes are lasting. I want you guys to get this. Our brakes last 250% longer than the competition. 250% longer than the competition. How in the heck are we doing that? Number one, we have bigger rotors. They're much bigger and they dissipate the heat better, so it wears out the brakes more slowly. You don't get the brake fade? Yes, they actually did tests on our brakes, and our brakes are kicking some butt. We got great stopping distance. That's we win in that as well. The next thing is, you guys know that we have 2 exhaust brakes on this truck. You guys know what an exhaust brake is? It's a Jake brake. So you use the back pressure of the engine, it puts pressure against everything, it slows you down. You guys know that we have this on the 2012s, right? We have it on the 2012s. Well, we still have that same brake, but it's changed. Now we got a second brake, and it's called the Smart Exhaust Brake. And back in the past, when you let off the gas, if you weren't running up close to the towing capacity of the truck, if you let off the gas in the back of the trailer, it keeps you going down the road smoothly. This is a huge advantage for your customers. Absolutely want to point this out to them. Another thing, we're still up at the front wheel, and I will tell you this, does everybody know what ESC is? ESC. Electronic Stability Control. Can anybody give me any of the elements of electronic stability control?
It pulls out in front of you, or you're going. This, the brakes all working.
Yeah, it's got roll mitigation sensors. That's part of it.
It's a whole bunch of factors
Yeah.
together, and it just keeps it, wherever you point the vehicle, it's going to go.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about your
Right.
ends.
Now, some more specifics. You guys know it has anti-lock brakes. You know it has traction control, so when you stomp on the gas, you're not spinning out. You guys got that piece, right? So it also has trailer sway control. So those customers that back in the old days when you used to tow, they used to tell you, hey, you start doing a little fishtailing, make sure you don't hit the brakes, because if you do, you're going to lose the trailer. Well, you guys know what happens. When it starts fishtailing, you got somebody in front of you, what are you going to do? You hit the accelerator and you go boom right into the guy. Well, you've got, with trailer sway control, when I put my foot in the brake, it actually will alternately put the brakes on the left and the right side to straighten you out right away, so you can actually do what they used to tell you back in the old days you couldn't. Now it takes care of losing the trailer if you have to hit your brakes. Huge advantage. It also has hill start assist. Does anybody here know what that is? Hill start assist. You guys ever been down to the lake? Any one of the lakes here, like over at Lake Pleasant or Bartlett? You ever seen a guy with a brand new truck, a brand new trailer, a brand new boat trying to back it down and put it down the ramp and put it into the water. You ever watch it happen? If you do, you can always see the old guys that are standing on the side with their favorite beverage on. Hey Billy Bob, what do you think is going to happen with that guy? You know, because they can tell he's new because it took him like this back down the ramp. So he's backing it down the ramp and he gets it down there and he lets his foot, after they drop the boat in the lake, he lets his foot off the brake, and what happens to the truck? It starts rolling backwards, right? And there has been many the time. There have been guys that have lost their entire brand new rig in the lake and dropped it all the way in because of this. Well, we stopped that from happening because hill start assist. If the truck is at a 3% grade, and you let your foot off, it'll hold the vehicle for 2 seconds. This is important. You want your customers to know this, especially if they're going to be doing that kind of towing. It's important. That's all part of ESC. We have 2 other elements that we added to ESC this year that are new for this year that we didn't have in the past. Ready alert braking and rainy day braking. Ready alert braking, if I take my foot suddenly off the accelerator, it preloads the brakes so that I don't have to put my foot all the way into the floor before I have braking power. And immediately when I touch that brake, I'm already ready to go and it's starting to give me braking power from the first moment my toe touches the pedal. The second thing is rainy day braking. If I have my windshield wipers on, if they're the automatic kind like this, which by the way, I discovered something. I left the accelerator ready. We save them on batteries, we save them on fuel, we save them on brakes, we save them on oil changes. And now, I mean, you know, brakes, think about it. If they last 250% longer, how much does a brake job cost on a truck like this? Over $1,000, right? Doesn't it? To get a full brake job on this? You guys are saving your customers actual cash money. You're saving them money with just this right here. So you want to be able to point this out to your customers. So we got everything in the front of the vehicle we're talking about is superior to everybody else in the industry. Now let's go back and talk about the next thing. Guys, there's a couple of things that we do that everybody, we've got credit for. One of them is that we've got triple seal doors. You guys know about this. We're the only one in the industry with triple seal doors. Everybody else has double. You guys see 1, 2, 3 seals. What does that do? It makes the cabin much quieter. And by the way, we do have the quietest cabin. So when we talk about spending that $1 billion, it's not just on saving our customers money, but it's making them more comfortable. The second thing, and this is really interesting because you will see this in nothing. You won't see this in Chrysler Academy stuff. You're not going to see this anywhere. You guys, we're putting a 270 degree seal in the metal in the door. It costs us $12 a door. That's $50 a truck. Think about what we've done, you guys. This is something that they signed off on. The factory signed off on. We don't get any advertising out of it. You guys know what it does. It runs all the way around here. And you guys can see right down here if you want to look. This is different than last year. You can actually see that the metal is not just crimped over, but it's actually welded shut. What does this do for our customers? You guys know what it does for our customers. It makes it so that the interior stuff, all of the regulator and all of the electronics in there, they don't get as much dust, dirt, they don't get contaminated by snow and ice, stuff that gets up into everybody else's door. So it helps us with corrosion, but it helps us with all of the stuff inside. You guys, they use it on 2/3 of all commercial applications. Everything from hospital generators to marine engines out in the ocean, they're putting Cummins diesels in there. And you guys know that Ford themselves, when they get past the F550, which is, they're still in competition with us because we build a 5500. When they get up into the medium duties, the class 6 and 7, F650 and F750, do you know what engine they use? Cummins. They use a Cummins because it's the best engine. Because I've talked to guys at the National Rodeo Finals in Vegas, and you guys, I met guys that had 1 million miles on their Cummins engines. You guys, that thing is bulletproof. We're saving them on maintenance on one of the greatest engines that's ever been built in history. Plus we're saving them on batteries, oil, fuel, brakes, and wear and tear on small things like the 270 degree seal in the metal. Forget the fact that we're saving them money. You guys, they'll think about that when they're buying the vehicle. But let's talk about what happens when they're really driving it. When they're really driving the vehicle, they want to know that it's going to be a comfortable ride. They want it to be an excellent experience. You guys know with the 7-inch TFT screen, we can actually set it up so it has over 150 different settings. If you haven't spent time changing the gauges and adding gauges and taking them away and moving stuff around, spend a little time with it so you're able to show the customer right in front of them. You want to show that to them. It's a really an important feature. You can blank the whole thing out, or you can add every gauge that you want, whatever you like. Everything from the vacuum in your turbocharger to the temperature outside, whatever you want, clock, compass, you name it, we've got it on there. You also want to take a look at the 8.4-inch screen. As you guys know, we have 4 stereo systems that we make available this year. We got the 3.0, the Uconnect 3.0. It does not have Bluetooth. Make sure that you know if you're selling one, a base truck that has a 3.0, the three line display, does not have Bluetooth. You have to know this. Don't get yourself in trouble and lose a sale.
Let me ask you this: why does it say Uconnect?
Uconnect is a brand.
It's a brand.
It's a brand.
Because you know what, people look at it and they go, "It's got Uconnect." They think Uconnect, Bluetooth.
I received a wonderful opportunity this week to sit down with product designers who are talking about trucks that they're going to build all the way into navigation. The N for navigation does. You can always tell the difference if you look inside and you fire it up. You don't even have to look at the sticker. You know which one it is based on the number of icons that you have on the bottom.
Now, don't the 8.4As come nav ready?
Yes. If it's got 6 on it, it's 8.4A. If it's got 7 on it, it's 8.4AN. After you activate the navigation, which by the way you don't want to do till your deal is funded, because you cannot unring that bell. Once you buy that nav, you can't unring that bell. You want to make sure that you know that and you can even tell the difference, because once you activate it, there's 7 icons on the bottom, but you'll still know it's the A because the A has the Navi in the dead center in the 4th spot. It's right in the middle. On the AN, it's always over in the 5th spot. It's over toward the passenger side, and then you know it's the AN. That's the only way you can tell by visually looking at an 8.4AN and an 8.4A that has already had the nav activated. Is that one thing? That's your cue. So if you get one and it's a used vehicle, it will help you know which one you have. You guys need to be careful, because the difference between the 2 stereos is not just the navigation. You know this, right? There's a difference in the amount of subscription you get to Uconnect Access. On Uconnect Access, on the 8.4A, you get 6 months. On the AN, you get 12 months. On the 8.4AN, you also have HD radio. That's hybrid digital that splits AM and FM stations up into several different stations. That's on it. It's not on the 8.4A.
They also have Travel Link.
It also has Travel Link and traffic, and serious traffic.
You do not have that on the A.
And you don't have that, that's right. And it also has 3D building, streets and buildings. It also has that. That is not on the A. There's a big difference. There's only a $500 difference between the 2 stereo systems on the sticker. This may get you in trouble on vehicles like the Laramie, where you can have both radios. Don't get yourself in trouble by getting them to fall in love with the AN, and then they say, well, I like it, I love it, but I want a different color, and they go to the next truck and find out that it has the 8.4A, and you go, well, I can activate the nav for you. How much is it? Well, it'll be $600. But there's only $500 difference